Hello, everybody. Today we have Jacqueline Gibson with us. Jacqueline came to First Bites in 2014, and she is also a UTCS graduate and is working at Microsoft now. And so we thought it'd be great to get Jacqueline with us to tell us some about her experience with everything. So Jacqueline, why don't you go start with telling us what you do right now with your job?
I'm currently a software engineer at Microsoft, and I work on a tool, well, a set of tools called Accessibility Insights. So they're open source offerings to help developers create accessible experiences on different types of devices. So we have a Windows tool, web tool. We actually just rolled out an Android tool for mobile developers, and we have some integration with different GitHub offerings as well. So I help build the different tools. I cycle through different tools every month that I work on. But yeah, that's pretty much what I do every day.
Are you an individual contributor? Are you managing a team? How does the job work out?
Oh, I'm very much an IC. So for background, I graduated in 2019, and I'm still relatively new to the team. I did three internships at Microsoft before this, and two of them were on this exact same team. So I was able to work on accessibility insights for web. But right now, I'm still an IC. Maybe I'll be a manager someday, but I don't know.
Oh, that's great. Are you programming in a particular language or a number of different ones?
I use TypeScript every day. Yeah, so we use TypeScript and React together. Occasionally, I'll do like some HTML, CSS work for our documentation site. So that's a place where users of our product get to go and like ask questions, get instructions, and get help when they run into problems with it.
So I'm not familiar with TypeScript. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
It's basically just JavaScript with typing. So with JavaScript, you can basically make anything be anything, if that makes any sense. So for a method, generally with typed languages, a method will expect an object of a certain type. So if you said method get, and the parameter is an object that is an integer, if you're using a typed language and you pass that method a string, you'll have issues. With JavaScript, that's not the case. You could pass a string to it, you could pass like a number to it, and you won't really notice those issues until you get to runtime. And then you're like, oh, this is freaking out because it's expected a number, but you can't do addition between the string hello and the number 2. So with TypeScript, you actually have the typing, so you're able to see and like kind of get ahead of those things, if that makes any sense.
Did you learn TypeScript at Microsoft during your internship, or is it something you knew prior?
No, I learned it during my internship. So I had used JavaScript before when I was in high school, just like a little bit, and some of the web dev classes, the one web dev class I took. But when I got to my first internship, they taught me TypeScript.
So what is an internship like at Microsoft?
Short answer, it's awesome. Like Microsoft has one of the best internship programs like in the country. I know I'm biased because I went back 3 times, so I very clearly drank the Kool-Aid, but it's an amazing place to be. I love the company because it's so large. There's so many different things to do. And when you're an intern, all doors are open to you. Like you can go up to anyone and say, hey, I noticed that you work in XYZ. Do you think we could grab coffee and talk about, because I want to learn more? And 99.9% of the times people say yes. Like I remember my first internship, I was talking to a mentor and she mentioned that she knew the technical advisor to the CEO and he was working on this project that was aligned with some of the research interests I was doing at UT at the time. And I was like, do you think I could like have his email and send him an email? So I sent this man an email. I've never met him. He's the technical advisor to the CEO, Satya Nadella. And I was like, hi, my name is like Jacqueline. I'm a rising sophomore at UT. I'm interning. I'm like in the Explore program. And I was wondering if we could like grab lunch and talk about blah. And he got back to me within a day and he was like, sure, let's set it up. And so that's like how I ended up getting to meet like the technical advisor to the CEO, getting to go to like the secret building where they have the CEO. Like it's like a secret part of the building. They have like extra security. And I got to go like up there and I got to see like some cool things that hadn't been released to the public yet. And we just got to talk about some of my interests, which were like in robotics and like user experience at the time. And then he ended up becoming a mentor to me. And it's just amazing how you're able to just go and meet these people. And yes, some of them become your mentors, some of them don't, but they are always meaningful connections that stay with you. Like I've kept in touch with so many different people that I met throughout my 3 summers. And like, these are people that, you know, you can grab coffee with, you can connect other people to. So when I have interns that I work with now, I'm always constantly saying, oh, hey, if you're interested in XYZ, you should talk to, say, Jan. Or if you're interested in this, you should go talk to Tim. Let me connect you. And that's just one of the best takeaways, I think, of the internship program, is just constantly being able to build connections and like fellowship with other Microsoft employees and interns as well. I don't know if that made a lot of sense, or I'm on like a little bit of ramble there, but the internship program was just amazing because I was able to come into Microsoft, feel comfortable, and have a network that I could rely on, and then begin to share with other people.
That's also a good trait, to be able to just email someone and, you know, ask them to set something up. You're a little assertive.
Yeah, it's scary sometimes, especially like when it's like, if it's just like me to like another, say like IC, you're like, okay, I can do that. But I even catch myself sometimes being like, am I really going to email this person? Like I had to email my manager's manager about something one time, and I was like, no, he's just a person, like just do it. And he ended up he's a really amazing person. He's very cool, and he was just like, yeah, of course, it's fine, let's talk about it. But it's just like, you have to remind yourself that they're just people, and the worst thing they can say is like, no, I'm not free, I can't meet with you. And if they say yes, you've lost nothing. Even if they say no, you've lost nothing. So you just got to try.
Was the department helpful in getting those internships for you, or did you pursue it outside of the computer science department?
So the department was helpful in the sense of I was able to go to one of the student leaders / honor student networking brunches that they had, like for the fall. It's in the morning and it's like a breakfast, and I was able to go there, and I was able to actually meet with a recruiter because it was a smaller group of students to the recruiter, like in terms of a ratio, and be able to like connect with her there. So the department did facilitate that meeting and like giving me that opportunity to be able to do that. I also want to credit my pod mentor. He actually helped me go over my resume and helped me like work through like my talking points and make sure that when I actually got to get to like that recruiter for one of my dream companies at the time, that I wasn't nervous and completely in my head. Like I had practiced and I knew what was my little elevator speech, how would I ask these questions, and like what I need to talk about to be able to like open the door for her and I to have like our initial conversation.
As far as your experience at UT, I seem to recall, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you went off onto some different programs.
I ended up getting a dual degree and an external minor, but it wasn't a formal program that I did it under. And so like for the students that are watching this, if you're applying to UT, there are definitely some like there are interdisciplinary programs you can apply to when you're a senior in high school that will let you kind of pursue different classes and majors and like kind of mesh together. I ended up getting the Bachelor of Science in Arts under CNS, which allows you to complete your computer science curriculum and like do your computer science upper division, so making sure you have that strong grounding in computing, but also frees up a certain number of credits so that you can pursue a certificate. So what I ended up doing was studying information studies with a focus on human-computer interaction, and within human-computer interaction on usability / accessibility. And then outside of that, I did end up getting another degree in African diaspora studies. And yeah, that was actually really cool. I wrote my honors thesis on the intersections of race and technology, and specifically the ways that computing has affected Black bodies and Black people from like, I think I started at slavery up until like the current day. So.
Is that a published paper?
It's not published. Maybe I should look into it. Like I have it. It's printed. It's been reviewed. I had accepted by like the department or the College of Liberal Arts. They gave me my little honor certificate and everything, so I did write it, but it's not published yet.
Jacqueline, can you tell a little bit about your experience with computers in high school? Did you take classes? Did you do projects, or did you come to UT without much computer science experience?
So I had a little bit of computer science experience in high school. So I took an intro to web dev class, and part of that was that we got to learn about web development, so HTML, CSS, a little bit of JavaScript. And then the second semester, we were tasked with going into the community, either at our school or the greater Dallas area, and creating websites for organizations that we were passionate about, usually like nonprofits or clubs. And that was my first introduction to computer science, and that was my sophomore year of high school. And after that, I realized that I actually kind of really liked computer science. So fun fact, I stumbled into CS. I was only taking this class to get the requirement out of the way and free up extra credits for me to be able to take more history and like government classes, because that's what I'm super passionate about. Still am passionate about, but that's what I thought I was going to major in like college. So I was like, I gotta get this out the way so I could take, like, I think it was Intro to Comparative Government and Politics that I really, really, really wanted to take. And so I thought I'd just go ahead and get the CS out of the way. So I'm like, tech is okay, like it's cool. My mom's in tech, but that's not really me. And I ended up leaving that class after the end of my sophomore year. And I was like, I'm actually like not bad at coding. And it's really cool to be able to use these tools to help people. And I didn't end up taking another class junior year because I was focusing on like that government and politics class I was telling you about, traveling, doing Model UN stuff. And that's a whole other side story for another day. But senior years when I was like, okay, let me actually like take AP computer science to see if I like it, if this is something I should be serious about, or if it's just like something I think is cool. And then AP computer science is where I actually ended up deciding that like I wanted to be a computer science major. I wanted to be a software developer. And so that's kind of where I came. That's my experience in high school with coding, really, that I brought to college. So I'd taken 2 classes, but they were basically kind of like really intro classes. So I wouldn't say I had that much experience when I got to UT. It was more than nothing, but it was still enough where I had a lot to learn, and I did learn my first year.
Outside of computer science classes, what were you involved with at UT?
I did a lot of things. So let's see. I was involved in Synod of College Councils. Synod of College Councils, which is the academic/policy equivalent to student government at UT. So we're focusing on class-related reform, making sure the students get internships. I worked on the committee specifically was like for internships, study abroad, and also professional development for students and making sure people had those opportunities. That's where I actually got involved with work that was helping UTCS students be able to learn about study abroad opportunities. So that was really cool. Let's see, I did that for 2 years. I was a member and then I was a chair. I also sat on the only student-run committee for study abroad scholarships. So we would give those out to students. I did that for 2 years as well. I've co-founded and was president of the Association of Black Computer Scientists. So I did that the second semester of my freshman year. And that was really just in response to the lack of community I saw for Black students in the computer science department. There were not many of us, there still aren't many of us, but we didn't really have a hub to come together and support each other. And so through working with some older students at the time, we were able to create a community that has since grown with UTCS. And that's something that I'm really proud of. Arguably, it is my proudest achievement at UT to be able to see that and see how it's outlived me. I think they just had elections and we're like on their 4th president now. And it's just great to see the foundation that specifically Black freshman students get to have. Like they get to automatically come into UT and have mentors, have friends, be able to connect and be able to support each other in like academic life, personal life, professional life, all of that. And so that was a really big part of my time at UT. I did the freshman research initiative for a year. So I was working on autonomous intelligent robotics research. Let's see. Outside of UTCS, I was involved in a lot of other things outside of Senate. So I did Texas Orange Jackets, which is the oldest women's honorary service society at UT. We're the official host of the university. And so I was in that for 3 years, sophomore, junior, and senior year. I was on the executive board for that, did a lot of volunteering. I was able to be involved with an initiative to help bring free menstrual products to campus for students through Texas Orange Jackets, and that's something that I'm also really, really proud of. I pledged my sorority, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and so I was involved in that towards the end of college. I was also in NSBE, so the National Society of Black Engineers, and I was in the Friar Society, which is the oldest honor society / secret society at UT, and I did that my junior and senior year.
You have an unending amount of energy, Jacqueline. That's very impressive. So you found time to study during all of that too.
Yes.
Was that a challenge for you?
I think it was a challenge in the sense of there are only so many hours in the day. But I would say that it was a challenge in the sense of my freshman year, I had to learn what it meant to balance between the things. Like work-life balance isn't a joke. And also extracurriculars in college are a bit more demanding than they were in high school. So in high school, I was equally very, very involved, but it was very easy to balance those on top of like keeping high grades. But when I got to college, these were like more time intensive commitments. So I had to learn how to say like, okay, Tuesdays are the day that we focus on homework for, say, data structures. And then like we go to tutoring for discrete math on Wednesdays, and Thursdays is when I go to Senate meetings, and like you have to block out your time. So within my first few months at UT, I got really, really good about basically being a strict Google Calendar user and actually organizing my time. Like I would block off time to study, block off time to do my readings, block off time to go to the TA's office hours and do things like that. And being really organized and keeping that type of tight schedule, that's how I was able to balance all the things I did. So my classwork with my extracurricular involvement. And then in the semesters where I had really heavy course loads, obviously I pared back a little bit on my involvement in some of the organizations. But it's just about balance. It ebbs and flows, but it can be done. You just have to make sure you're really diligent about making sure that you're giving everything the attention it deserves.
Do you have some advice for high school students who are interested in pursuing computer science as a major?
I would say just do it. A lot of times, especially when I was younger and when I first got to UTCS, I just questioned if this was a space for me because I wasn't getting things as quickly as other people in some situations. And I'm not going to lie to you, computer science is a challenging field. I mean, all fields have their challenges, but for me, CS, there were a lot of obstacles, especially my first year. And I just questioned if I was like good enough. That's when I first really learned about imposter syndrome and things like that. And so I would just tell anyone looking to pursue computer science, if that's something that you want to do, do it. And when you encounter obstacles, don't get down on yourself, just lean on other people and try to get help. Like asking for help is literally the best thing you can do for yourself. Sometimes you have to put aside your pride, which I think is hard to do when you come from being like at the top of high school and being a senior and having to start at the bottom of the totem pole again in college. But just ask for help. Be willing to tell your professors, hey, I'm really not getting this concept. I know you introduced it, but like I've been doing the readings, I've been doing this, I've been putting in this work, but something's just not clicking. And I think if you're willing to put aside your pride and be able to ask for help and get support when you need it, it's going to be well worth the reward, which is like being able to have a computer science degree and continue to use technology as a tool to help other people. And so I think the sooner you learn that lesson, the easier it will be on you. Not to say that computer science itself will become infinitely easier when you do that, but just make sure that you're willing to put in that work and get help when you need it.
So now that you've been in your career a few years, where do you see yourself going? What would you like to aspire to?
Yeah, I don't know, honestly. So I'm coming up on, I think I just hit 9 months of being a software developer, full-time, not including like my internship experience as a software developer dev. So if I count those, I've been a dev for like a year. And I've been trying to think about what's really next for me, what I'm interested in. I definitely love building products for people that make the world better. And I'm trying to figure out kind of like, how do I balance the digital equity work I was doing in high school / well, really college, and now on the side with what I'm doing on day to day. So I'm trying to figure out if that means pivoting into program / product development and management, stuff like that, or if I kind of want to look into maybe more of a developer advocacy space, tech evangelist space, so I can still go around and introduce people to these products, get to still stay technical, which is something that's really important to me, but get a little bit more interpersonal engagement than you get when you're mainly writing code. So that's something I'm really trying to figure out now, especially as I'm coming up on like my official year mark full-time at Microsoft. So if I figure it out soon, I'll let you guys know.
This is Jacqueline.
It's me, you know, just talking, living. What was I gonna say? Okay. So when people ask, what does it take to succeed in computer science? What does it take to be able to make it, quote unquote, in the tech field? I think the biggest thing I wish I had learned when I was younger, and the thing that I like to share with younger students / younger people that I meet, is that the power of grit and being able to persevere is something that's going to take you far. So yes, there is some merit to having like innate talent. Like there are definitely people who can just like wake up and like code something. They're like, oh, that's great. And they're just perfect at it, and good for those people. But a lot of times, and especially when you get into more advanced classes, more advanced problems that you see in industry, these are not simple problems to fix. You can't just code it, send it, it's whatever. Like you actually need to be able to work through these problems, problem solve. They're very high level, I guess, applications of the things that we learn in undergrad and potentially in grad school. And when you can't just rely on that innate talent, grit is what takes you to the finish line. It's the kingmaker, if you will. And so being able to persevere, to try different avenues to solve a problem, to be able to bring in people when you need help and you know you can't do it on your own is something that's going to be really important as you not only begin to look into studying computer science in undergrad, but look to go into industry. I'll never forget my first internship at Microsoft. I was a rising sophomore, and I was in the Explore program for Microsoft, where they put you in pods of 3. And so both of my pod members, they were older than me, and they had significant more coding experience than me. And so when we came into this, like my entire pod knew, my mentor knew that like I was not as strong as the others, and I almost let that get in my head. Like I started to feel really self-conscious, and I'm like, I'm really young, like should I even be here? I don't even know any other like rising sophomores in this program. Like, am I good enough? Was this a fluke? And it was just all in my head. And that made my first couple weeks at the internship really hard, because I just felt like I didn't know how I was doing. I was trying to figure it out. I felt like other people were getting it so much faster, and I'm like, what's wrong with you? And it just was this negative cycle. But at some point I just sat down and I like had talked to my mom and my dad about it. And I was like, you know what? You can't strive for perfection, which is something I talk about with my parents all the time. Like perfection is not possible. But something that you should always strive for is progress. And I told myself, like, you know what? I might not be perfect, might not be the perfect coder, but what I'm going to do is try to grow every day. And so I would go in every day. I would review, I would work, I would try to work on the problems. I try to unblock myself when I could. When I couldn't, I go to my mentor, and I just worked really, really hard. And I was able to learn a lot. My internship became fun after that. I wasn't as stressed, and I was just able to do so many things that I originally thought I couldn't do, because I just sat down and I just like focused on progress, not perfection. And I kept pushing myself. And whenever I came up against an obstacle, I didn't let that overwhelm me. I just said, okay, this is broken. How do I fix it? And if I couldn't fix it, let me ask my mentor. If he doesn't know, let me ask my podmate. Let me do this. We're going to work on this together. And so by not focusing on me and instead focusing on like bringing my best foot to the table, like bringing my best self to the table every day and working together as a team to solve these issues, like I was able to do so much more, if that makes any sense. And at the end of the summer, when I had my review to figure out like if I got an offer, if I didn't, I was talking to my manager, and he said, you know, I think you didn't think that we noticed the work that we do. You didn't think that we noticed how much harder you were working and what you were doing to be able to do this. We did. And the fact that you were willing to put in that work to achieve this goal, and not even focus on just like your own individual goals, but work with the entire team to bring your pod to this next level, that's something that we really appreciate. And then he said, because of that, and because of like how I've been dedicated to not just solely focusing on myself and what I was going through, but bringing everyone together, that's why they would give me the offer. And that's something that really stuck with me. And so I guess in addition to like grit and like perseverance, I would say don't just focus on yourself, focus on the team, focus on the product, focus on your classmates, make sure that they're coming up with you. Because if at the end of the day, you're the only one at the top of the mountain and you look back at everyone else is struggling, you did something wrong. So I don't know if we should share that with kids, but that's how I feel.
Do you still keep in contact with some of your student friends from UT, and are y'all working together now, or are you all over the world from each other now?
Yeah, so a lot of my I still keep in touch with a lot of my friends from UT. Like I talk to a lot of them like every week, which is very funny to say. And that's something that honestly I was scared about when I was graduating, because I'm like, we're all going to different cities and different states. One of my friends moved to Botswana. So it's just like, how are we going to be able to do this? But I think that's also one of the great advantages of technology, is it helps us stay connected and be able to like do Zoom calls, Microsoft Teams calls, Facebook message people, be able to call, just talk, pick up the phone and just really connect. And in terms of like, actually do work with a fellow Longhorn from the class of 2019. We weren't necessarily friends in undergrad. We only took like one class together, and the department is really big. But when she joined the team after me, I was like, I remember you from like, it was like this random class we took freshman year. She's like, yeah, I remember you too. And so she sits behind me, and now like that's one of my work friends, and we also both get to be Longhorns. So yeah. Before I go, I just wanted to say a special thank you to 4 people who really made the difference for me at UT. So first, Mary Esther Middleton and Tiffany Buckley. You two played an integral role in my first few years getting to know UTCS. Mary Esther specifically with like First Bites. That was my first introduction to UTCS. I didn't even consider being able to go to that school and study computer science until I went to First Bites. And so I want to say thank you, Tiffany, you supported me my freshman year with all of my random ideas I had for different initiatives and whatnot. And so I thank you for that. I also want to shout out Alice Bernal and Allison Norman. Dr. Norman, she was my first, I guess, in-depth computer science teacher that I had at UTCS for First Bites. And then she continued to be a mentor for me all throughout college. And so I just really appreciate you, Dr. Norman, if you're watching this. Heart. And then Alex, you were also a great supporter with everything that we were doing with ABCS. You believed even sometimes when I didn't believe, and you were able to help us get to like this greater level of excellence and create a lasting community. So I just want to say thank you to all 4 of y'all, because I think you made my UTCS experience amazing. You continue to do so for students that are coming in. And I just love the work that you do to make sure that students are able to thrive in this department. So thanks.
Jacqueline, that is so nice of you, and thank you back. We're so happy it's working.
I can speak for everyone by saying that you are very missed. We miss you around the department, but we're happy to see you're doing well and thriving in the world.
I'll come. I'll do anything you guys want. Anything for UT.